So who is a better villain? Stain or Overhaul? It is a question that has been popping up in my mind more and more every time I read a new chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. Now, before I go any further, this video will contain spoilers. If you are not up to date with the manga, or if you're an anime only, I do not recommend you to carry on with this video. Now, if you don't care about spoilers, then carry on and watch the video. But I just wanted to quickly let you all know and warn you, if you're an anime only and you clicked on this video, this will contain spoilers from the manga. So with that being said, let us get into the discussion. Who is better? Who is a better villain? I mean, at the end of the day, when you really do think about it, it comes down to personal taste, if you want a quick answer. It comes down to personal taste and how you view these two characters. However, I want to get into the nitty-gritty, though. Who is a better villain, and who has a greater impact on the world of Boku no Hero Academia? Instead of just my personal preference, who had a greater impact, or who is going to have a greater impact for the manga, or just the series in general. Now, let's look at Stain. Stain's track record. Stain is a character, as we all know, recently in the anime, his arc ended, and we all know from the manga how Stain has impacted this series because of, the latest chapters and all of that, the latest arcs. We know Stain, his presence in the series is still there. Regardless of how many chapters pass, no matter how many hundreds upon hundreds of chapters carry on a Boku no Hero Academia, what Stain did, he set the path, the foundation for the League of Villains. He is the very reason why the League of Villains are like they are right now in the series. Why they're such a prominent force. Why they are like the in-game baddies. Because of Stain. He is what set everything into motion. He is what set Toga twice and all of them joining the League of Villains. He is the one that just got everything ready for what's been going on in the recent arcs. So it's thanks to Stain for doing stuff like this for the villain side, just setting up the League of Villains, but also opening everybody's eyes up to what a true hero really means. Not just to the people in the Boku no Hero Academia universe, but us as the readers or watchers of, the actual Boku no Hero series. We have now realized that Stain, actually revealed the problems with the society, how it is run, how many heroes aren't really considered heroes. Just because you go to hero school does not make you a hero. And so Stain kind of exposed every single problem with the system. Now, as we've stated many times, we all know Stain, his viewpoint is very warped. There is some things when it comes to his viewpoint, his philosophy, and what he fights for, it is not completely correct. There is some problems with his philosophy. I mean, what he wants heroes that are willing to dive in, no care for their life, and just risk everything to save someone, which is heroic. It is a heroic act. However, as we found out in recent arcs of Boku no Hero Academia, All Might and even Izuku, they have this madness inside them. They are willing to just throw their life away for the sake of others, and it's a very unshonen thing to do. It's allowing us to see that sometimes, if you want to save people, you need to save yourself first. You need to understand it's not always a good thing to just throw away your well-being just for the sake of others. And I love the style of what Horikoshi has been doing, how he's exposed this, and how he's carried on to showcase that this type of hero is not going to work. It's a good way to be a hero, but it's not going to work because at the end of the day, you're going to need to be saved as well. It's not just you being the hero. Who's going to save the hero that's in danger? Which, Izuku or All Might. And so, Stain's philosophy, which in turn is very heroic if you're not getting into the nitty-gritty, there is a lot of problems with it. So, even though Stain exposed everything, had a lot of impact, there is some flaws, but he still carries a lot of weight, because even though there's a lot of flaws with his philosophy, it's very important in Izuku's character development in the future of the series when he finally does become the #1 hero. Because when he does become the #1 hero, he most likely is not going to be exactly identical to All Might. He'll be even greater. He'll be someone that is able to save others, but also save himself, and not just, save everybody and risk his life. He's willing to keep everybody safe, even himself. That is when he will become a truly good hero and surpass All Might, when he's able to get rid of the madness that is inside of him. So the weight of Stain and what he did is still carrying on in the series. To this very day, what Stain did has a presence. And Stain's not necessarily gone from the series. He's not, dead. He's not gone. He can eventually be freed and come back and be a big part of the series. Like, maybe eventually there'll be a big prison outbreak. You'll have it to where, All for One will break out, and then you'll have, Overhaul. If he gets captured, he'll break out, and then you'll have also, Stain, he'll break out as well. So you'll have massive heroes breaking out of prison, and then we'll get to see what role they'll play once that happens. But for now, though, we know what Stain's role is and what he has done. He was mainly just to set the tone for the series and let us know that this series is not a typical shonen. There's a lot more darkness here behind the scenes. Now, let's look at Overhaul. Overhaul is a fairly new villain. He was recently introduced. I mean, he's been around for almost a year now, but he was still fairly introduced compared to, like, you know, Stain. He's been around a lot longer. Overhaul, as a villain, at first glance, his design is very unique, but this can be said for a lot of characters of Boku no Hero Academia, mostly when it comes to the villains. If there is one thing that Horikoshi always excels at, it is the villain designs. The villain designs always look grade A, 10 out of 10, phenomenal. They always look very, very good. And so I really cannot say that one of the best points about Overhaul is his design, because all the designs of the characters or villains are very good, very unique, and they stand out. Stain's design, his outfit, the weapons he dons, the way his face is when his mask is finally removed, just everything about it, Stain's design is unique, and so is Overhaul's when it comes to the Plague Bearer mask, and also his entire organization. Just many things about his character are very unique, but that can be said about any character in Boku no Hero Academia. So instead of focusing on his design, let's just talk about what role he plays. So far from the arc, what we have found out is that he's more of like a mob boss. That's basically how you can view Overhaul. He's a mob boss that runs this underground organization after All for One failed. After he has now been in prison and all that, you had to where he has now taken the reins and he wants to become the next All for One. He wants to rule the underground world and shape, you know, villain society, basically. And so he is now trying to build up this new type of bullet to where it can actually attack quirks and completely get rid of them. Now, this plot point alone in this series is very, very deadly. And in a way, this type of plot point was to be expected. When you think about in the grand scheme of things, a Boku no Hero, or any series that involves superheroes and powers, the risk of losing powers or someone having an ability to take powers away from you or make you lose your power permanently, this is something that does typically happen in superhero series or comics or movies or whatever. This is something that typically happens. So something like this in terms of plot was bound to eventually happen. It just came down to how Horikoshi wanted to actually implement it into his manga. And so far from what he has done from implementing it into the manga, it's been very good. He's done a very good job with what he has done, and I also like how he's put on this difficulty to actually mass produce this type of bullet that can actually get rid of quirks. It's not that easy. It's not like going out there and then just, you know, obliterating everybody's quirk. It's not that simple. There has to be a lot of preparation and build-up to be able to do something like this. And so Overhaul has initiated something that will definitely be very, very powerful in the future. Maybe not in this arc. Even if Overhaul fails, okay? He falls, he's imprisoned, or he even dies. Let's just say he dies, okay? Let's say Togen Twice, they come in and they kill him. If these bullets get out to the League of Villains, they're able to get the plans of what he has been doing, and they're able to mass produce this, then the everlasting effects of what Overhaul was trying to achieve would still be there. His presence in the series, once again, will be here. It's like Stain, how his presence is still there, even though he's not in the series. Overhaul's presence would still be in the series, thanks to these bullets being mass-produced. And so, if that was to happen, that would mean that Stain probably wouldn't be as nearly as important as Overhaul is, because the ability to lose your quirk, if these bullets strike at you, and you lose your quirk, that is going to make a massive shift in society. People are going to get very scared because if anything happens, you'll lose your quirk and then there's just nothing you can do. It's like losing a piece of yourself. As we know, all of these people in society, in the Boku no Hero Academia universe, they don't look at their quirk as a special ability. They actually look at it as an attachment of their self. They don't look at it like that. They look at their ability as like an extra arm, an extra limb, so to say. They don't look at it as if, oh, I have a superpower. I'm able to, you know, breathe fire or whatever. They don't look at it like that. They look at it as something, an extra arm. And so what happens when you cut off this extra arm? People are gonna, they won't know how to react. They'll be confused and they will be very upset, depressed. And so if that happens, if this bullet makes it out and gets mass produced by the League of Villains, then Overhaul's overall character was very important in this series and had a massive impact on what was to come. So that still doesn't answer the question though. Is he a better villain than Stain? Well, so far, we don't really know a whole lot about Overhaul. Now, some might obviously say that I should have waited to make this video because there's just not a whole lot of information on Overhaul. And you know what? I may do like an update video for this once we get more information on Overhaul, but I kind of want to discuss this just to get the topic off my mind because I've just been constantly thinking about this since Overhaul has been doing these crazy things, these recent like 4 or 5 chapters. I just want to discuss and talk about him. So, is he a better villain? Like I said, we don't really know much about him. We know certain little details. We know he has a thing to where he doesn't like to get his hands dirty. We know for a fact he thinks everybody's filthy. He feels like heroes are a disease. That's how he feels about hero society. He feels like all these heroes feel like they're special or whatever, and they're trying to be someone they're really not when they use their abilities, and he wants to rip that away from them, which makes him very unique. There's a little bit of a side to him that makes him very unique because of that, and it explains why his outfit is like that, why he has a plague doctor mask. He feels like everybody is sick because they feel like they're just someone different, but in reality they're not. If you ripped away that extra ability they have, they would be a normal person. They would have to be something completely different. And I feel like that's what he wants to show and what he wants to prove. He wants to expose everybody that just because you have something doesn't mean you're someone else. You have to be something else. Like, you're born different. And for instance, that would mean that just because you have the ability to breathe fire doesn't mean that you're someone else. You have to be yourself. And he's trying to prove this to society, and there's probably a lot more when it comes to his motive, and we also got to remember that he is someone that clearly has some form of respect for the original leader of the Mafia. We know for a fact he did care, he listened to his opinion, and then he started to initiate and do things once, you know, the person he looked up to, you know, went unconscious. When he went completely unconscious and all that, and he basically he no longer could lead and, you know, rule over the Mafia anymore. You had to where Overhaul took over, and now he's leading the charge. And we do know a couple of chapters back before this arc began, he did say, "I'm very sorry," and all that. It's going to get very noisy here. So it does show that he cares about a person. At the very least, it shows he does have some form of heart, but at the same time, this very person told him that if you continue going down this path, then you will lose your heart. You will become a monster. People will view you as a monster, which is very ironic when you think about it, because in the latest chapter, he becomes a monster. I mean, he looks like a monster. He took someone's life and fused with them just to gain power before he can get out of there and defeat the heroes that are currently cornering him. Now, I don't feel like that's probably going to be enough for him to get out. I do still believe he's probably going to get defeated, but still, regardless though, there's a lot to his character. He's a very interesting villain, and he definitely has a massive impact on the story, especially the League of Villains, and also how the Hero Society will be after this. And let's not even forget what he has done to Togata. He has stripped Togata of his quirk, and that alone says so many things. That's a massive, massive blow to the series. Not in terms of writing, I'm just saying a massive blow to a character, because Togata, we know he has put years upon years of work to be where he is at, and he lost it. It's gone. All of that effort, poof, gone. And it's thanks to Overhaul why he lost everything. So when you look at what he has done, he definitely has a very big list of things he has done to individuals. Actually, even greater than Stain. I mean, Stain has a big track record. He's done a lot of heinous things as well. But in terms of important characters that we know of, Overhaul has a bigger count in terms of body count and all that. Because, I mean, look, he killed Magne. We know for a fact, you know, he killed Magne and obliterated her. And then we saw what he just did to Togata. So, when you look at all of these things, yes, I know, you know, Overhaul didn't shoot Togata. I just want to do a quick clarification. But I'm just saying it's thanks to, you know, Overhaul that initiated all of this. I just want to do a quick clarification. So, anyways, though, when you look at everything that has happened, Overhaul has done a lot of damage to our characters. More so than what Stain has done. And so when you look at it right now, it seems like Overhaul is going to have more of everlasting effects on the series, especially after this arc. Because if the bullets, like the plans for the bullets or whatever, get out to the League of Villains and are able to mass produce them somehow, then it's going to be even worse than what Stain did. It's going to set an entirely new thing in motion. So, I'm going to leave it up to you. Who do you think is a better villain? Stain or Overhaul? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will do an update video on this when we get more information on Overhaul. like I said, I will give an update, and then I will determine who I think is actually better. Because so far, I really like Stain, but I am really loving Overhaul. He has proved himself to be a really cool villain, not just in design, not just in being epic in terms of his fighting style, but also just how his personality is. It's so intriguing. It makes you want to know what led him to be like he is. So, overall, I think right now, I still prefer Stain, but I am shifting over into Overhaul as the chapters keep coming. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.